What happens if a buyer has to sell their current home in order to purchase their new home? In today's video, we're going to look at one possible solution called a first right to purchase, and we're going to get started right now. Hi, my name is David Matney with Nebraska Realty. I'm a local realtor here in Omaha, Nebraska. Now let's jump into today's topic. Many buyers find themselves in a position to where they would like to buy a new home. However, in order to buy their new home, they have to have the proceeds from their sale of their existing home in order to make that move. Now, if you're a seller, what are some of your options? One solution for the seller is called a first right to purchase, or sometimes you'll hear it called a first right of refusal. Now, if you're a seller, and especially if you're a for sale by owner, and I've said this many times in the past, you want to make sure you read the contract. As a for sale by owner, the agent who brings you the contract is representing the buyer. They're looking out for the buyer's best interest. It is your responsibility to read the contract. That's why I've said this many times in the past as well. It's important that you have your own representation. I've spoken to many for sale by owners in the past, and they've kind of found out after the fact because they did not read the contract carefully. A purchase agreement is a legally binding contract, so take the time and read it over. If a buyer writes an offer and it's contingent on the sale and closing of their existing home, one option for the seller is to counter that offer with a first right to purchase. This says to the buyer, hey, buyer, go ahead, sell your home. We'll give you, let's say, 30 days to get your home under contract. However, we're going to keep our home on the active market and available to offers. Now, if we accept another offer, we'll give you 48 hours to remove the home sale contingency and give that original buyer the first right to purchase. Now, if that buyer cannot remove that home sale contingency within that 48-hour period, then the seller is free to sell the home to someone else and take that other offer. Now, a few questions can come up. What if that second offer comes in and let's say it's cash and let's say it's $10,000 higher than that first offer? Is that seller still obligated to give that first buyer that first right to purchase? And the answer is yes, absolutely. That first buyer doesn't have to match that offer or anything like that. That buyer just simply has to remove that home sale contingency. And here's another thing too. That 48-hour clock starts when the second offer is fully executed, meaning the buyer and seller agree to terms. Just getting an offer doesn't start the clock. Few things to be careful of. If you're a seller and that buyer removes that home sale contingency, make sure the lender provides you with proof that the buyer can remove the home sale contingency. And if you're a buyer and let's say you're looking into doing some, let's say, bridge financing, make sure you start that well before that 48-hour clock starts because you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time, let's say if you're trying to get bridge financing in order to obtain that bridge financing. Another consideration if you're the seller is your listing agent will do some research on that buyer's property to see how saleable that property is. Now, in the past 2 years, you didn't see very many of these types of offers being accepted because sellers receiving, multiple offers. Now that the market's starting to normalize, you're beginning to see more of these types of offers. Now, if you're considering accepting an offer with a first right to purchase, be sure to have it on a separate addendum. This type of contingency is not something you can add to a contract in 1 or 2 sentences. This contingency has a lot of moving parts, and you want to make sure that things are spelled out clearly to avoid any confusion.